Hi, everyone. This is Jacqui Cooper with Crypto Mom2 Talk Show, and I want to welcome everyone back and thank you for liking and subscribing so that way you can hear and see all the various talk shows that are going to be dropping and shared with you as time goes on. I have a really special guest today, which I will introduce in a quick second. I was at the Bitcoin 2022 event in Miami, and I met a lot of great people, a lot of great companies, and I'm really excited to chat with my fellow Bitcoin miner here today. There's so much going on in the Bitcoin arena, both from the mining side as well as the investment side, as well as the development side, from open source to a whole slew of topics. I do wanted to share that these shows are not financial advice. You definitely have to do your own due diligence and research. You also have to invest at your own risk, because there's always highs and lows with every activity on the blockchain. But there's a lot of creativity, and there's a lot of great business that's going on. And that's one of the things that I realized when I was at the Bitcoin conference, is that there's business for the big business and there's business for the individuals. And so today we're going to be talking about both sides of it. For those that are new to Crypto Mom 2, I just want to share that my background is as a lawyer, but I'm also an educator as well as a mom. And so my whole purpose with this talk show is to provide you with a variety of resources that are available in this blockchain space, and information for you to make your own decisions and for you to learn about the creativity that definitely exists here. So today I just want to welcome Ike or Isaac here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. It's great to see you again.
Yeah. I know you were kind enough to do a live stream with me with my book, Bitcoin Cinderella, which is on Amazon. I'll do a little plug there. But tell me, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as well as the company that we're going to be talking about today? Because I was really impressed with what you guys are doing, and I want to share my platform and all my listeners with you as well. So go ahead and introduce.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thanks, Jacqui. I'm Isaac Holyoak. I'm the Vice President of Communications for Cleanspark. And so my portfolio includes marketing, communications, investor relations, and other duties as assigned, which is more and more these days, it seems like. And I've been with Cleanspark for not too long, actually, since the summer, in July. I followed the company for a long time before that. Cleanspark started out in the renewable energy space, building microgrids. And a microgrid is essentially energy generation on site. It's a battery where you can store it. And then it's a sophisticated software that says when you should use energy from the grid, when you should use energy from solar panels on your roof, or when you should be drawing down on your battery. And so we were looking at building a commercial system for a data center in Atlanta. In College Park, which is where the airport is, the busiest airport in the entire world. It's just regained that status recently, actually. So the busiest airport in the entire world, there's a data center down there, and they happen to be mining Bitcoin. And we ended up acquiring them. This was when Bitcoin was around 13 or 14,000, and Bitcoin has gone up since then. I know Bitcoin's down for a lot of people right now, but it's not really down. It depends on when you buy into Bitcoin. It's when Bitcoin's down. And the rest is sort of history on that. So we acquired the data center, increased the amount of Bitcoin mining we do there in College Park. We acquired another space, bought land to build another mining facility, land in a building actually in Norcross, which is also the Atlanta area. And then we co-host some machines in upstate New York at CoinMint. And then we just recently announced a very large contract with Lancium, which is a renewable energy. They build renewable energy grids, specifically in Texas, actually, so wind and solar. And we just barely announced that. And so that is actually going to be built and start to come online later this year, not until about December, actually, is when the first 50 megawatts will come online. And then in spring of next year, another 150 megawatts will come online. So we're talking, I mean, this is mining. This is institutional mining at the corporate level. It's big, it's huge. And it's incredible to see what these mines look like. Our College Park mining facility is air cooled, so it's outdoors. The machines are buzzing. I don't mind the buzz. It bothers some people. We put up sound walls to be good neighbors, so the sound goes up. It's not traveling anywhere. It's not bothering anyone in the community. And then our Norcross facility is actually all immersion cooled, and that sounds like a spa. There's no buzzing, there's no noise. It's just the sound of trickling water. It's not really water, right? It's an oil substance that's used, like a mineral oil almost. It's the closest analogy that I've noticed. It's non-toxic, and it's just the water trickling. It's bath water because machines get very hot, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that temperature. We've been joking around that we want to pipe music through the intercom system, and so people who work there, can just zen out on the sound of Bitcoin mining. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's Cleanspark. About 90% of we're a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. About 90% of our revenue comes from Bitcoin mining, and then 10% comes from our legacy energy business, which we still do some of that. But we were attracted to Bitcoin mining. It was kind of an accident, but it was fortuitous because we really believe in decentralized energy. It should be as easy to generate your own power as it is to grow your own food. That has been our line. And Bitcoin is decentralized currency. It's decentralized money. And so for us, it's decentralized energy meets decentralized money. And it's a match made in heaven. Not only for the sort of the profits and all that kind of stuff, but for the social utility of it. And we can talk more about this, but that's one of the reasons why we invest heavily in sustainable mining. So using non-carbon resources, non-carbon energy sources for our mining.
I love everything that you're talking about. I definitely want to break this down a little bit because I was just at a blockchain dinner last night. Actually, I don't know when people are going to be hearing this, but yes, very much so. And there were many different companies there, and one of them actually was talking about, again, I'm not techie, so you're going to have to kind of bring this back around and with the right language, but they were talking about exactly the immersion that you had talked about in terms of, again, the idea that you can have traditional mining and then you have the cooling aspect be more liquid around. And it was like, I was just listening with open ears because I had never heard that before. So this immersion type of, concept is amazing to me because of how the technology has evolved. I mean, I know that, and I think this is important for us to talk about, a lot of people are concerned about the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining. But I think that when you're using renewable energy, when you're using whether it's solar or hydro, or you're looking at how can you incorporate this in a way that's both encouraging the currency side as well as the environmental energy use side. That's fascinating to me. So does your company have a lot of scientists, or how are you developing and incorporating all this, environmentally friendly, sustainable avenues? Yeah.
So our vice president of technology is a great guy. His name's Rich Inman. He's an engineer. He's a PhD in, I forget this exact engineering specialty, but essentially he wrote a dissertation on heat transfer.
Wow.
So, and then we also work with partners, of course. So our immersion filled these tanks, we don't build them ourselves. We work with different vendors and different partners in order to build those. But we test them all out. And I wish I could speak more about this. I mean, Rich is a super sophisticated guy, but he also spent a lot of time in education like you, so he can explain it in ways that people like me can understand, which is an extremely impressive thing to do. So, as you said, there's essentially these two ways, and immersion cooled. It's not new. It's certainly new for Bitcoin mining, but data centers have used this in the past. And I actually learned at the Bitcoin mining conference that back in 2014 or 2013, there was an at-home Bitcoin miner that was immersion cooled.
Wow.
That sat on your countertop, like next to your blender.
Wow.
Yeah, and I want to get my hands on one of these. So if any of your viewers know about one of these machines, I would love to get one of these. But
Sort of
essentially,
like
yeah, it was,
it's like the original Apple machine, it's
yeah,
probably
exactly. And so can you imagine just mining on your kitchen counter while you're like making your morning green smoothie or something like that? They're just right next to each other. And Bitcoin experienced one of its drops then, and it was the company ended up going under, and so they didn't distribute it. But what they were doing though is they were really trying to bring. We kind of think of corporate mining as something that's new or it's happened recently, but the institutions were already there way back then, and this company wanted it to be more accessible to home miners essentially, and so that's why they did that. Home miners. I guess you probably you locate your machine, you host your machine somewhere, or do you? Because I know you do some mining. Yeah.
I do. So for those that, are interested in finding out more about the mining that I'm doing, you can look at the QR code, and the company that I purchased, I have 2 rigs. I could have them sent to my home, but I decided that I wasn't going to have it home-based. I do have them hosted by Advanced Mining, and they're hydro, so they're very eco-friendly as well. And there's insurance on the rig, so I like that. They deal with all the tech, making sure it's up and running, and the Bitcoin drops daily into my wallet, so I like that. So I'm the flip side of what you're doing, because I'm the individual who's involved while you're the corporation. But from both perspectives, we're looking at making sure that it's environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
So are your miners, it sounds like they're all in one location, or do you also have them mobile?
They're in multiple locations. I mean, some of them are mobile, quote unquote, in that they're in containers, self-contained containers. The immersion cooling stuff's not mobile by any means.
Yeah.
Our air-cooled ones, you could move them. But they're at the 2 facilities. So we have miners or ASICs. We've got them up in upstate New York at 2 facilities in Atlanta, and now soon to be 1 in Texas. So they're kind of all over the place. I kind of want to talk about this aspect of sustainability, or using renewable energy or non-carbon energy.
Yeah, please, let's do that.
Because it's not just that miners can and ought, I think, to use renewable energy. It's that miners and Bitcoin specifically can help develop renewable energy. So where there are places in the United States that don't have renewable energy, or it's not affordable, for example, to build out wind farms or solar farms, Bitcoin can come in, a Bitcoin miner, and can work with whoever is building out that facility to essentially make it profitable faster. It incentivizes the building of renewable generation. And don't quote me on this, but one of the figures that I saw recently is it essentially takes the payback period from 11 years in some instances, in some cases. Again, it depends on markets, right? And where you are in the country, what grid you're part of, where you are in the world, from about 11 years to 3 years. So wow. You can, it makes it, because you know how it is right now, if you put solar panels on your house, I mean, you're going to be lucky to have those paid off, in 15 years. That's a long time. It's the right thing to do, and we should do things because they're the right thing to do. And I think that's true. But also in a market, it's worth also incentivizing people to do the right thing. And Bitcoin mining is one way that we can do that. And you've heard this analogy before, and it's used all over the place. But the analogy essentially is that Bitcoin mine, it takes energy and it stores that energy not in a battery, but in a currency. And then that currency then has value for people all over the world. I've been really impressed with, I really like Alex Gladstein. I don't know if you read him or follow his writings. He works for the Human Rights Foundation, I think is what it's called. But he talks about financial privilege, and a lot of those in us in the United States, we have, I mean, the dollar, yes, is degrading right now. Seeing that happen in real time, but we do have the privilege of living in a fairly stable currency, and there's a lot of people all over the world who don't have that. And so Bitcoin's a real lifeline for folks like that. We may see it being a real lifeline, not just an asset for us, right, in the United States, but depending on how inflation falls out in the next few months and years, who knows what kind of utility Bitcoin will have for us.
I love the fact that you have blended both the currency side with the energy side. So do you think that this energy that is being tapped into, how do you see that being used in the future?
So I think some of it will be used for a to help with some of our ambitious goals that we have as a country about decarbonizing our economy. And by that, what I mean by this transition, right, to a renewable energy. And so right now, it's natural gas it depends on where you are in the country, right? It has gone up quite a bit in the Northeast. But there's cheaper ways to generate energy often than building out solar or wind. And so Bitcoin miners are part of that transition, right? That when it's not exactly incentivized by market forces or by government subsidies or something like that, Bitcoin mining can come in at this precise moment. It's brilliant in a way, and I almost get chills thinking about it, that the precise moment when we need to be building out our renewable infrastructure, Bitcoin is on the scene in a very major and large and corporate way, and it has the attention of Fidelity and Goldman Sachs and all these places, right? It's sort of at the right moment where some of the financing and deals can start to be put together in order to build out some of these resources. Like, for example, the relationship we have with Lancium, which will be wind, and I think mostly wind, some solar in Texas.
So tell me more about what's happening there in Texas. How are you going to be building that out?
Yeah, so I'm probably not the right person to have the exact conversation about
That's okay.
that.
That's okay.
Yet, because we're just starting. But essentially what happens is Bitcoin miners can work with large renewable energy generators. And what essentially can happen is, because we consume a consistent load of energy, we can power up or power off a lot faster than, say, like a factory does that's making carpet or glue or whatever it is that they happen to make. And so that's one way we do that. I mean, at our own facilities, this is kind of cool. So at our Norcross facility in Atlanta, we're installing solar panels on the roof of that facility. It'll be about 1,400 panels, which sounds like a lot because the an average house has between 3 and 5 panels. Well, I mean, maybe a little bit more depending on how big the house is. So those 1,400 solar panels are on the roof of our facility, and they'll produce about 0.6 megawatts of energy. Now, the whole facility is 20 megawatts. So it's not a ton, right? You've got to build out a lot of solar panels in order to make it work. But just the idea of solar powered mining, though, to me is just so cool. Like we're converting light that took 8 minutes to get here into Bitcoin. That's crazy. It's like it's outer space Bitcoin or something. I don't know. I love it.
It is amazing, and it's so funny. I'll go back to the Bitcoin Cinderella book. At the end of the Cinderella story, the prince and Samantha, who's the Cinderella of the story, they decide they don't want to live at the palace and they want to build their own home that is heated by Bitcoin miners and energized by solar panels. So, and one of her next adventures is going to be in the Bitcoin mining area to kind of explain everything. So I cannot wait to write that and to interview you and others within the field so I can kind of incorporate more about the technology and the education and bring it down to a level that makes it friendly for both those who are just learning about mining as well as youth and the next generation of of those that we want to kind of go into these fields, because these are career building fields that we need the individuals to think about.
Absolutely. I'll send you some cool links. There's a group called Brains.
Oh, great.
BRAI. Have you heard of them, Brains? They're a Bitcoin miner, just super bright group of people. And they've been writing some explainers essentially on the relationships between Bitcoin and energy. and it's just super sharp stuff, also written by engineers. So like when you're ready to have those conversations, I'll connect you to the smart folks because it's not me.
For sure. And I also can anticipate kind of visiting, down, whether it's in, the Atlanta area or even New York, one of the areas, so I can actually walk and see and
Oh, I'd love that.
and use the visuals within the book too, because again, whenever, and I didn't think about this when I started writing, but now I understand when different authors are writing, they do their research and then they incorporate that into the story. So you can actually make it more relevant and excited, when a character goes somewhere, because you actually have been there. So
yeah, no, I love that. Why did you I mean, there's lots of genres for writing. How did you land on children's literature?
Well, I decided on the fiction side, so that way it'll give me a little bit more leeway in terms of writing, because again, Samantha's mother doesn't die in this Cinderella version. She ends up being one of the early blockchain engineers who worked with Satoshi, who created Bitcoin. And obviously, because we don't know who Satoshi is, that's sort of a literary license that I took. But I also know that, the fairy tale aspect is fun, and you can incorporate a lot of education within stories. So it's really an adult fairy tale with the idea that it can open up conversations for parents and for youth, about what's going on in the blockchain, because it's like, you and I've had conversations offline. It's just an amazing, there's a lot of commercial applications that are being used and developed. And in 5 years, who knows where, we're going to be seeing all of this be. So I'm excited about it. So tell me, what's the website that people can check out?
Cleanspark.com, www.cleanspark.com. So clean and then spark. That's us. And we're also on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube and what am I missing here? Instagram.
Yeah. And for everyone who is listening and maybe don't have a pen or paper, don't worry. I'm going to have all the contact information below. So that way you can definitely, reach out and learn more. And as mentioned, if you, want to do your research and get involved with the company, they're on the NASDAQ. So you can definitely check that out. Any other way that you want them to reach out to you or to get involved?
Yeah, I'm open to, you can reach me directly at my email address, isaac@cleanspark.com. Happy to chat anytime. You can also reach us at pr@cleanspark.com is another way. And then, or just, I'm on Twitter. I'm Rhetoric Dude on Twitter. I'm not a really active Twitter user. I've been at it I've had a Twitter handle for almost 12 years now. And I mostly use it to follow gardeners. I'm an avid gardener, Bitcoiners. And then I used to follow a lot of political junkies. And then the last few years, I've just had to unfollow all those folks because it's just, I don't know. I just want gardening and Bitcoin. That's all I want right now in my life. But you can send me a message on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, or you can send a message directly through the Cleanspark Twitter as well. And we're very active on there. We'll reach out to you and get back to you as soon as possible.
That sounds great. So for everyone that's listening, if you're curious about Bitcoin mining, there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved, both from the corporate side at Cleanspark or from the individual side, by reaching out to me. Again, you do need to do your own research. There's a lot of companies out there, but there's a lot of good folks. And it's definitely something to think about because, if you are buying Bitcoin on an exchange, a rig Bitcoin mining needed to happen in order for you to buy that Bitcoin on the exchange. And the Bitcoin miners or rigs are actually securing the network. So, it's important when you get involved on a currency side to understand the technology that's involved as well. And, whether or not you want to become a miner, it's always important to do your research so you can kind of understand what you're investing in and why you're investing.
Yeah.
So any last minute thoughts that you want to share with everyone?
No, I love that. I love what you're doing to educate people about mining. I mean, Bitcoin mining is about infrastructure. We are building the infrastructure of the new economy, the
Yeah,
infrastructure of tomorrow. Infrastructure gets forgotten about all the time, right? You don't notice that you're driving on infrastructure till you hit a pothole, and you're like,
that's right.
crap, somebody needs to fix this. Or your plumbing is infrastructure, and you don't notice it until there's a leak or
That's
your
right.
sewer backs up. So we got to get people interested in understanding and knowing about this important infrastructure, which is Bitcoin mining, and how they can participate. So anyway, I think it's really cool what you're doing, Jacqueline, and I'm so glad that you could have me on your show. It's been really fun.
I loved our conversations, and I know we're gonna have more conversations in the future. And the other thing that I want to share with everyone is I'm not a coder. I definitely want to learn more about the technical side, but you can become involved in things. I don't want to say on the surface, but you don't have to be a tech junkie in order to get involved. So it is important that everyone, educate yourself on many different levels. And that way you can become a more active participant and more active citizen in our community, because like you've talked about, Bitcoin is used around the world. And so it's something that it's important for everyone to have a little bit of understanding about, because it's not going away. It's been around for 13 years, which may seem like that's not a long time frame, but for something that's made such a big impact, and it's growing, again, everyone needs to know a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
So everyone, remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're all interconnected. We're all part of one world, and have a great day. Thank you, everyone. Bye.